The rain had stopped hours ago, but the water refused to leave. It clung to the streets, to the homes, to the hearts of the people who had lost everything. A child's toy floated past the ruins of what once was a living room. Somewhere, a man stood waist-deep in water, holding the American flag above his head, so it wouldn't touch the flood. That was all they had left, dignity. Then, the rumble of engines echoed across the drowned town. Black SUVs, glistening with rain. People turned, unsure whether to cheer, cry, or walk away. The convoy stopped beside the shattered church. From the first car, Donald Trump stepped out. No suit jacket, no crowd, just quiet eyes and boots sinking into the mud. No one said a word. The flood had washed away a lot, and it was about to reveal something deeper. The air was thick with the smell of soaked wood and gasoline. A mother lifted a photo frame from the wreckage, her fingers trembling as the glass slipped away. An old man tried to push his broken truck out of the mud, his boots sinking deeper each time. The town, once proud, once vibrant, was now a ghost, breathing through the faint sound of dripping water. A group of reporters stood at the edge of the wreckage, whispering. When Trump's motorcade arrived, their cameras clicked like nervous insects. People gathered, some with folded arms, others clutching the hands of children who still didn't understand why their home was gone. Trump stood still for a moment. The familiar face that so often filled screens with fire and certainty now carried something different, a quiet weight. His gaze drifted over the broken street, the faces of farmers, veterans, single mothers, all united by the same loss. "Sir," a FEMA officer said quietly, "this is the hardest hit area." Trump nodded but didn't respond. Instead, he walked toward a pile of splintered wood that had once been a porch. He picked up a piece of a child's drawing, half torn, showing a stick-figure family under a bright yellow sun. He stared at it for a long moment. A woman's voice broke the silence. "We didn't think anyone would come." Trump turned. She stood holding a bucket, her eyes red from sleepless nights. "I'm here," he said simply. "And I see you." For a brief moment, the cameras lowered. The people, uncertain of what to expect, found themselves watching something they hadn't seen in a long time. A man just standing with them, saying nothing, listening. The flood had stripped away walls, both physical and unseen. What remained was the raw, unspoken question that hung in the air. Would anyone truly help them rebuild? The answer, they would soon learn, would not come from promises, but from a moment no one could have predicted. Trump continued down the broken street, stepping around puddles that mirrored the gray sky above. The air buzzed faintly with the hum of generators and the occasional clatter of shovels. National Guard troops carried supplies. Neighbors passed buckets hand to hand, rebuilding not with machines, but with heart. That's when he saw her. A young woman, no older than her mid-20s, knee-deep in cold brown water, dragging a heavy sandbag toward a half-collapsed house. Her jeans were torn, her hair matted with mud, but there was fire in her movements. Not frantic, not hopeless, just steady. Every lift, every drag, spoke of quiet defiance. Trump paused and nodded to the aide beside him. "Who is she?" The aide shrugged. "Local volunteer, sir. Lost her house in the first flood wave." He watched as the woman, Emily, someone later said her name was, slipped once, caught herself, and kept going. No camera looked her way. No reporter asked her name. She wasn't saving her own property anymore. The home she was sandbagging belonged to an elderly couple too weak to do it themselves. Trump walked closer. "You don't have to do that," he said, voice soft. Emily looked up, surprised to see him standing there. Her eyes were tired but kind. "Someone has to." He frowned. "But you've lost your home, haven't you?" She nodded almost apologetically. "Yeah, but someone helped me first. So, I helped someone else. That's just how it works." For a second, the street grew quieter, as if even the dripping water paused to listen. The cameras, still rolling from a distance, captured something unexpected. Trump, standing in silence, at a loss for words. He finally spoke, almost to himself. "Because someone helped you first." Emily smiled faintly. That's right. We all pass it on. She turned back to her work, her boots squelching in the mud. Trump stood there a moment longer, watching her lift another sandbag. Heavier than before, but somehow lighter because of what it meant. In that moment, he didn't see politics or headlines. He saw courage that asked for nothing in return, and it humbled him. Afternoon sun broke briefly through the clouds, spilling pale light across the drowned town. Trump had spent hours moving among the residents, shaking hands, listening to fragments of stories. Losses too heavy to fully speak. Yet one face stayed with him, Emily, the volunteer in the mud. She had become the quiet center of the chaos, her resolve anchoring the others. When he found her again, she was stacking boxes of canned food beside the church steps. Her hands trembled from exhaustion. Trump walked over slowly, motioning for the cameras to stay back. "You've been out here since morning," he said. Emily straightened, brushing her muddy sleeves. "Since before that, sir. We started when the water hit the highway." He studied her, searching for something beyond words. "You lost your home?" She nodded, her voice steady. "Everything inside's gone. But people I didn't even know showed up with blankets, hot meals, even boots for my little brother. So, I figured, why not keep it going?" Trump's brow furrowed. "Keep it going?" "The kindness," she said softly. "It's like a chain. Someone breaks it, it dies. Someone keeps it moving, it grows." He looked at her for a long time. The street around them was quiet. Even the press, for once, didn't interrupt. "You said earlier that someone helped you first," he murmured. "And now you're helping others. That's America." Emily smiled faintly. "We all belong to each other, sir. That's the part people forget." The words hung in the air, fragile and heavy at once. Trump's eyes glistened, not with performance, but with a man's private understanding of loss and pride. He placed a hand on her shoulder, his voice low and roughened by emotion. "That's what makes this country great. Not power, not wealth. It's hearts like yours." The moment passed quietly. A child called for his mother. The wind moved the flag hanging limply from a half-broken pole. Reporters later described the scene as unexpected. No speeches, no slogans, just an unguarded truth between two people standing in the mud. For those who witnessed it, the flood no longer felt like an ending. Felt like a beginning. The clouds rolled in again, dark and heavy, as if the sky itself wanted to weep with the town. A single drop landed on Trump's sleeve, then another, until the rain began to fall light, steady, cleansing. The people didn't scatter this time. They just stood there, watching him and Emily, the quiet rhythm of the rain filling the spaces words couldn't. Trump looked at her, the young woman who had given more than she had to give, and without a word, slipped off his jacket. It was thick, far too big for her, but he placed it around her shoulders anyway. The gesture caught everyone off guard. It wasn't political. It wasn't staged. It was simply human. Emily's breath caught in her throat. "Sir, you don't have to," he interrupted softly. "Yes, I do." Around them, cameras lowered. Reporters who had come hunting for controversy found themselves frozen, their microphones hanging uselessly. The crowd grew still. A veteran straightened and saluted. A mother held her child closer. A pastor bowed his head. Emily's eyes welled with tears that she tried to blink away. "Thank you," she whispered, voice trembling, "for seeing us. For really seeing us." Trump swallowed hard. His face was wet, maybe from rain, maybe not. "We'll rebuild this town," he said, his voice cracking for the first time that day. "Not as leaders and followers, not as rich or poor, but together. As Americans." The words weren't loud, yet they carried through the soaked air like a promise. The people listened, not as a crowd, but as one family, joined by loss, hope, and something deeper than either. The rain came harder now, running down faces, mixing with tears. No one moved to wipe them away. For a moment, there were no cameras, no headlines, no sides. Just people drenched, broken, united. And in that small, flooded town, for the first time in weeks, someone finally smiled. The floodwaters had finally begun to recede, leaving behind cracked earth and the faint scent of renewal. The gray had lifted too, replaced by the tender glow of sunlight pushing through thin clouds. Birds sang again, cautiously at first, as if testing whether the town was ready to listen. Trucks rolled in one by one, carrying lumber, food, blankets, and laughter. Volunteers, some from miles away, joined the locals in cleaning, building, and planting. The hum of engines mixed with the sound of hammers striking wood. Every nail driven was a declaration. We are still here. Emily stood at the center of it all, her clothes still stained with mud, her hands blistered but steady. She moved from house to house, checking on families, helping children find lost toys, guiding teams to rebuild what the flood had taken. Every now and then, she'd pause, look around, and smile. Not out of pride, but gratitude. That morning, a few workers looked up as a familiar figure stepped out of a pickup truck. No cameras, no entourage, just Donald Trump in rolled-up sleeves, carrying a pair of gloves. He nodded to Emily, who blinked in surprise. "Didn't expect to see you again, sir." He chuckled softly. "Didn't expect to come back." She handed him a hammer. "You here to supervise or to work?" Trump grinned. "To work, if you'll have me." And he did. Shoulder to shoulder with veterans, farmers, and teenagers, he helped lift wooden beams, steady planks, and clear debris. For hours, he said little, just worked and listened. When the walls of a small house finally rose upright, Emily turned to him. "Looks like home again." Trump looked out over the town. Flags fluttering on porches, children laughing in puddles, people waving from rooftops. His eyes softened. "This," he murmured to an aide nearby, almost as if to himself, "this is America." No speech followed. No reporters waited. He simply shook hands, shared a quiet smile with Emily, and climbed back into the truck. As the vehicle drove away, the sun caught the wet rooftops, making them shine like new metal. The faint sound of hammers echoed behind him, not as noise, but as a song of rebuilding. The flood had broken the town. The people had rebuilt it. And the world, for a moment, remembered what unity looked like. True greatness isn't found in titles or power. It's born in the quiet moments when we choose to stand together.